Best way to cook pork belly is on a lower temperature in the oven,
Nice and slowly.
for a couple of hours, and then finish it off in a frying pan. Succulent, melt in the mouth texture. Oh my God, it's so lovely. Now I've got a whole slab of pork belly here with the bones in, but if all you can get is pork belly slices or without the bones, don't stress about it. We'll also need some salt, pepper, some cider, not for drinking unfortunately, some onion, some soy sauce and some honey. And for the equipment you need an oven dish. If it's got a lid, amazing. If not, some foil to cover it, a frying pan and a small saucepan. Generously season all sides apart from the skin with salt and pepper. Even though we're not going to use the skin, leave it on for now because it's easier to take it off when it's hot, and also it kind of keeps everything together. Cut your onion into slices. Don't be overly precious about this. If you've got amazing knife skills, perfect. If you haven't, don't worry about it. Also at this point, put your oven on to around 160 Celsius. It's not an exact science. It doesn't matter if you're a bit hot or a bit colder. This dish is incredibly forgiving. Now normally you'd brown the meat before you put it in the oven. However, because we're going to be cooking it in the oven first, then finishing it off in the pan afterwards, we're going to add the crust later. Put your onions in the dish as even as you can, and then place the pork belly on top. Pour in the cider around the sides, just so it comes up to maybe 1/2 to 3/4 of the height of the meat, and then cover it with foil or put the lid on if you've got one with a lid. Whack this in the oven, and then after about 2 hours, check it. If it's super soft, you can remove it. If it needs a bit more cooking, leave it in for another 20 minutes. Once it's done, remove it from the oven and place it on a plate to cool. At this point, it's a lot easier to remove the skin, and to remove the bones, you can pull them out, put the cooking liquid into a saucepan. Now, ideally, if you've got a sieve or a strainer, you can use that, or you can just fish out the pieces of onion. It really doesn't matter. They're adding flavour. If you don't like the onions there, you can pull them out. If not, just leave them there. It's not a problem. Place your saucepan on a high heat and start to reduce this liquid. You're looking for a thick consistency here. Once it starts to get thick, turn the heat off, and the residual heat in the pan will help to continue thicken it some more. Add some honey at this point and a bit of soy sauce and taste it. But don't just whack a load of soy sauce in, because you don't want the glaze to be so salty that everyone's reaching for a jug of water. Keep stirring and tasting, and once you've got this thick, sticky glaze, you're done. Cut the pork into even sized pieces, whether they're squares, rectangles, any shape you like really. I'd recommend against doing something with 32 sides because let's be honest, that's just fucking ridiculous. Put some olive oil in your frying pan and turn the heat on high and make sure the extractor's on. Do not season the pork because you seasoned it before putting it in the oven, and also the glaze has got soy sauce which could be a little bit more salty, so you don't want to add any salt at this point. Once the oil is hot, and you can check that by just touching the pork in the oil, if it sizzles, you're good to go. Place all your pieces of pork into the pan and then cook until each side has got a golden brown crust. Remove the pork from the frying pan. Put your pan with the glaze on a low heat. Then add your pork to the glaze, and as that low heat warms up the glaze, coat all those pieces beautifully and sticky and just so good. Oh, this is going to be amazing. At this point, taste the glaze. If it needs a little bit of seasoning, add a little splash of soy sauce and stir it all around and mix it all up. Once you're happy everything is warm enough, transfer the pork to a plate or bowl and pour over the remaining glaze. And there you have it. So obviously, let's try a piece. So soft. Subtle apple flavour, then that sweet, sticky, salty glaze. The problem is whether or not any of your friends will get to try this, because you're not going to be able to stop tucking into these. Give it a try. An amazing dish. It does take a little bit of time in the oven. Very simple, very cheap to make as well. Pork belly is one of the cheapest cuts you can get, and the results are so good and so easy to make. You really must try it, and let me know in the comments how you get on and whether or not you changed anything or put your own spin on it. So if you want to start enjoying cooking for the fun that it is, without all the usual bullshit and stress, make sure you smash that subscribe button, because there'll be a new video every Thursday. Enough time for you to make the dish at the weekend, because it's time for you to get handy in the kitchen. Until next time guys, cheers, take care, bye bye.